Hello, our very full committee this evening. Full attendance. All right, well, we definitely now are ready to start, since we are crowded, so, go. Here we go. And that is how we officially begin a meeting. Hello, everybody. Greetings and welcome to this September 2024 Transportation Committee meeting. I'm excited to see you all. I'm excited for a new year with you all. It feels like a new calendar year, even though it's not like, it's the new school year kind of thing. Yeah. We've been off from, for August, so it's good to see everybody again. I'm just reading the standard preamble here. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and or extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. And this meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded online. We definitely have a full agenda this evening, and so
can we find Brett, whether he's allowed to be away, or was that is a special case? I mean, just for the attendance.
Sure, Brett, are you joining, is this an excused absence or unexcused absence?
I submitted something online last week. I didn't get a response, but I assumed that somebody must.
So
yeah, as long as you filled it out, you're good.
All right, great. There we go.
It's good.
Excused. Excellent. So we have a very full agenda, but let's, as we normally do, just go around and quickly, as people are joining us from the public, let's just go around and introduce ourselves. So I am Jesse Greenwald. I am one of the co-chairs of this committee.
Christine Berthe, co-chair.
Ian Buckley, member.
David Warren, member.
Rodney Washington, member. Sandra Miller, member.
Max Christine, member.
Alan Austin, member.
Tina Nelson, member.
Charlie Todd, public member.
Gordon Baylor, member.
And in the back.
Pete Diaz, member.
Alice Monaco, secretary.
And Brett.
Brett Furfer, public member.
Excellent. Very well. Numerous committees. Excellent. All right. So again, we do have a very full agenda. We have a couple of presentations, and certainly some items for discussion this evening. And so I definitely think it makes sense to get right into it. So hopefully we have representatives from Vornado with us online. And if they are here, if they could kindly raise their hands, turn their cameras on, and the floor will be theirs to present on Pier 94.
Great. Yep. Thank you. My name's Benjamin Dermion, work with Vornado. I'm joined here tonight with my colleagues Frank Benura, and I believe David Bellman is also on the call as well. We're here to give an update on our Sunset Studios Pier 94 project. Just want to start off by thanking the MCB4 board for inviting us to give this update. We're very excited by the project and all the progress that's been made in the past 12 months since we really kicked off construction. So I'll just share my screen. We do have a little bit of a presentation to go through. So for those that maybe aren't familiar with the project, hopefully everyone is. This is the first purpose-built film and TV studio on the island of Manhattan. So, we're definitely very excited by the prospects of this project and, the benefit that it's going to bring to the community. It's going to be a big improvement, I think, to this area. Certainly will improve the egress with the bike path and pedestrian egress in front of the site. Hopefully solve some lingering issues that have been there for quite some time now. Just to give an overview of where the job site is located. Again, we're sort of bounded by the 52nd Street on the south side that you can see here where I'm moving my cursor. And then just south of Clinton Cove Park, which is really right around 54th Street. The job site is at the old Pier 94 structure, which you see highlighted here in blue. Just a point of clarification, this portion of the job we refer to as the head house. That's the landside portion of the facility. It holds what will be five of the six stages for for TV and film production. And then you have the existing pier shed, extends out roughly 1,000 feet into the Hudson River. And this will hold a lot of the back of house post-production support spaces for this facility, as well as the sixth stage. So there's a total of 6 stages on the project. Just to kind of hit on the overall schedule, like I mentioned in the beginning, we really kicked off construction about this time last year in 2023, September of 2023. The first several months being spent on demolition and abatement of the existing structure.
Yeah, sorry, so, hold on, Ben, we're trying to make this full screen. I don't know if that's on you guys or Janine, if you're able to help with that, but it'd be better.
Ah,
Can you close the participant? Yes, I can do that. That can help.
Is it on my end? I apologize. It looks full screen to me,
Yeah,
but
and if you could do maybe
we're good.
window full screen.
There we go.
does that help?
Yep. I'm sure it does. See?
Okay, it looks exactly the same on my screen, but hopefully
it's-
that's
it's
an
fine.
improvement
Go
on
ahead.
everyone else's screen. So this is just a high level summary of our of our schedule, where the red bar here, vertical bar, shows where we currently are, between Q3 and Q4 of this year, 24. We've been under construction really since Q3 of 23. We've made a lot of good progress. I'm happy to report that we're on schedule to hit our overall completion date of end of next year, Q4 of 2025. So, let's see, how do I go to the next? So I just want to run through some photos so people can kind of see the progress that's been made. This is a screenshot of from our earth cam. So you can see where the old head house used to be. This is the existing Pier 92 structure, and then here's our Pier 94, what was the original Pier 94. We demolished the entirety of the existing head house, and now you can see the new slab work is in place and the structure's been going in. Inside the pier shed, the existing trusses have all been now reinforced structurally, and you can see the new envelope is now being progressed west to east through the existing pier shed. There's some photos of the structural steel work that's going in place. This is standing in what will be stage 5 in the facility. This is one of the sort of in the medium size of the 6 stages. Stage 1 is the largest. Overall head height is 36 feet in these stages. So these are very large production spaces, particularly for any of the facilities currently in Manhattan. You can see a few shots of the steel again going in. These are this is going to be stage 5. These are the large trusses. Each one of these segments weighs about 15,000 pounds. So these are very large trusses that are being erected currently. A couple more photos of that. This is sort of standing in the middle of the future head house, looking west through the existing pier shed. This is the last portion of the concrete work to be completed on the job. So within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we should be really substantially complete with all of the concrete work on the job, and it will really just be a matter of completing the structural steel and then the subsequent fit out through next year. Here's a photo of the existing pier shed. You can see the existing or the new sheathing. This is the dense glass exterior sheathing being installed on the south elevation of the pier shed, and then the roofing is progressing its way along, sort of following behind it. So pretty soon in the next month, we'll have the first portion of the pier shed on the west side really close to being watertight, which will allow us to really start our interior fit out for this project. Another photo of the exterior sheathing going in. Here's a shot standing in the pier shed now looking west. This is in what will be stage 6. What you're seeing here really is the structural modifications to the existing trusses to accommodate the high ceiling heights that are in stage 6. And then just a few shots of the roofing system being installed. These are pre-insulated sort of modular roof panels. They include the building insulation and water and air barriers, so it really helps improve the the overall duration for the roofing installation. That's going well so far. And then just standing out on the far west end of the pier shed, this is overlooking what will become the new public terrace. This will be accessible to to the public and really considered part of the Hudson River Park length along this side of Manhattan. All right, so I just want to spend a few minutes now going through the phasing plans for the pedestrian and bike path, which I know is a very important topic to everyone here. So just to look at the existing conditions today, these are what I have up on the screen right now are the approved plans for New York City Transit and New York State Transit. There's been a lot of coordination with those agencies on the phasing as it relates to pedestrian egress through the site. Originally, there was a sidewalk that ran just west of the marginal street directly in front of Pier 94. This whole area now is under construction, so the pedestrian traffic has had to have been diverted, as you see here in the yellow. So the yellow represents what the intended egress path is for pedestrians. And the green is the current, as of today, what the current bike path, how the bike path is configured. Obviously, we know that a lot of the pedestrians choose to egress along the bike path just because it's the path of least resistance. But, the state and city DOT mandated that we show the egress the way it's currently reflected in this plan. So this is the current conditions. I want to just kind of review what some of the phasing that's coming up in the next few months and through the end of the job. So starting in October, towards the end of October, our contractor will start some of the underground work in Clinton Cove Park. That's going to be phased so that we don't totally disrupt the pedestrian traffic. So the first phase occurring in late October is taking an area of this existing sidewalk through the park and designating that a construction area. They're going to do their underground work in that zone through the month of October, maybe a little bit into November. There's really no other impacts to pedestrian traffic. Pedestrians will need to egress around this loop to get south if they're coming from the north side, and then they can continue as they are currently today. So then the next real phase is in towards the early part of December rather. The work zone will flip a little further south in Clinton Cove Park. So the area that they were working in that I'm circling with my mouse will be open then. And then this portion that you see in blue will become under construction to continue that underground, it's underground sanitary work that they have to install back into the construction site. That work will take really through the end of December, and then this construction zone will go away, and the entire loop that was in Clinton Cove will be reopened. But while this is occurring, pedestrians would egress along the edge of the northern edge of this construction area, and then they would share a portion of the bike path. I'll try to zoom in here if I can. So the bike path would remain in its current condition. It'll be a 10-foot, 2 lanes, 5 feet each direction for the bikes, and then a 6-foot portion designated for pedestrian traffic, just to the east of the bike path. So pedestrians and bike traffic will share this portion for a duration starting in really towards the end of December of this year. And it'll be in this configuration until April, May timeframe of next year. At which point, really the only change here is that this portion that was being used is going to get pushed a little further east, and then to allow the improvements to the site in this area to be completed. And so that's going to start in April, May timeframe. Really, this is the only area that you're going to see really major phasing changes until the early part of next summer in terms of pedestrian and bike traffic. So then in early summer or midsummer, the main portion of the bike path will be opened. This will allow bike traffic to egress through the newly completed marginal street and the actual bike path. The area here that you see south of sort of on the south side of the site, this is a temporary lane. The permanent will be running below the overhead ramp and then back out. But there's going to be work that has to be completed in this area of the job and through the part of next summer. So pedestrians will continue to egress across 12th Avenue. There will be a portion of the permanent sidewalk that's opened sometime in midsummer of next year, July of August again. But then they would be directed to cross the street. And then this just shows the final configuration, which would be towards the end of next year, where you see the bike traffic and pedestrians run in parallel paths, you know, through east of the service road, and then eventually cross where there will be a new stop sign in the marginal street, and they'll cross underneath the helix, and then back to how you know, south to where the current pedestrian path and bike path are located. So that's really the high level explanation of you know, our phasing intent for pedestrians and bikes through the end of the project. Just a couple more renderings of the job. You can see the new public area of the project along the north side of the pier shed, and then this open terrace on the far west end. Another thing to note, we actually increased the total amount of solar panels on the job. We originally had a 650 kW solar field on top of the head house. We were able to increase that by roughly 15%. So that's been a good news story that we've been able to achieve so far on the project. And then just another final shot of the rendering of the west end of the pier shed. So that's pretty much it on the Vornado side, unless Frank or David Bellman want to add anything. Happy to field any questions.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some questions. I'll open up David and I'll look around.
Can we go back to the picture of what's current right now?
Yeah, can you pull up what it currently looks
The
like?
current configuration, at least.
Yep, this is the current conditions.
Okay, thanks. David?
So when you're doing the construction, two questions, where the pedestrians are gonna co-mingle with the cyclists, are you gonna have staff there, humans guiding these people? And also, what type of dividers are you going to have to separate the cyclists from the pedestrians? Because these are very heavily used areas by both. I mean, this is the most, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. I don't know that we've identified exactly what form the physical barricade will be here. It'll be some form. It'll either be, you know, like movable police barricades, the kind of the bike racks that you see in some locations. But there will be something to demise the bicycle traffic from pedestrian traffic. You can kind of see it in this plan when you zoom in. That's these orange boxes that sort of divide the space. We do have, you know, dedicated dedicated personnel from the general contractor that sort of manage this whole intersection, understanding that this is the main entrance for the construction site. So this is a highly trafficked area of the project, just between the public and the construction work. So I don't know if that answers your question. We can, you know, as we get closer to the point where we're going to implement this, we'll we can provide more detail on what exactly this barricade will look like. I don't have that answer right now, but there will be some form of physical barrier.
And how far, is the street nearby? Because usually when you do construction, especially with the bike lane, they put like separate things, they cut like part of the motor car traffic road, so the cyclists can go through. Rather than impinging on the pedestrians, I'd rather impinge on the motor cars.
Could you repeat that? I'm not sure if I followed what the question was. Sorry.
Okay. Usually when you do, it's a construction site, they cut out the bike lane. They cut a piece of the street off to make a temporary, bike lane. So it affects the motor cars, not the pedestrians. Is there any way you could do that, or you can't do that because you're too far away from the street? I don't know. Well, the
Yeah.
highway,
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of too far away from the street. The good thing is that this area of the existing bike path is quite wide. You know, we have close to 20 feet of width here to work with. So rather than take lanes of the West Side Highway, and the other issue is we have a lot of construction, you know, vehicles that stage along this marginal street. So I don't know that it would be. I don't know that it would create necessarily the most safe condition to try to push that traffic into the marginal street. I think it's definitely safer to keep everyone sort of segregated from the traffic behind this median. This is a grass median that you see here. But you know, it's definitely something we could look into further. Right now, this is our current approved, you know, DOT plan that was reviewed and approved by the city and state DOT.
Thank you, I was going around, who else had a?
That was my question, but maybe just a quick comment on the separation as Warren or David were. Some bike riders do tend to veer out of their lanes in terms of passing, especially on Saturdays and Sundays when you've got the teams running up and down the bike lane. So just to keep that in mind, it needs to be something very permanent and consistent across.
Right. Yeah. No. Good point. You know, we'll definitely make that a priority to you know, identify a barrier that's you know, that's permanent in nature and that doesn't, you know, part of the challenge is making sure that the supports for that barrier don't infringe on, you know, the available space for people to walk or bike through those zones. So that's something we're going to have to work on.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. I mean, frankly, I personally would love for pedestrians to be able to walk on the same side versus crossing, but I assume that can't be done. But putting that aside, if I'm a jogger, how am I going to continue on my jogging path without stopping at a light, crossing over, jogging down, and going back?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. That's a challenge. You know, we've to some extent initially we did present maintaining pedestrian and, you know, and running traffic alongside the bike path. That was presented to New York City DOT and state DOT. You know, that was rejected early on. We actually attempted again a second time to present that as the preferred route. I think that it's just going to be human nature that the reality is that joggers are going to continue to run along the bike path as they are today, even though we're posting signage and doing everything we can to try to direct, you know, the pedestrian and any, you know, jogging traffic east of 12th Avenue. But you know, short of physical barriers, there's really nothing we could do to prevent that from occurring. I think that's just going to be how you know, joggers continue to egress. They're going to follow this green path, and you know, I don't know that there's anything we could do to prevent that from occurring. I think this is our most critical point. You know, we get a bit of a pinch point here with the bollards. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
What was the state DOT's reasoning for rejecting that proposal 2 times?
Sorry?
What was the state DOT's reasoning for rejecting that proposal? You said twice, you.
Yeah, I
presented.
think they felt that there just wasn't adequate space or width with the existing bike path at points specifically on the north side to accommodate both pedestrian and bike traffic. I mean, the vast majority of this lane is actually close to the 17 feet, which is what we have up here. But there are points right at this sort of at the 52nd Street intersection where it does pinch down and it gets probably closer to 12 or 15 feet at this location.
That's a perfect place where we could have taken over some roadway, because you see that's the exit of that roadway.
All of this. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Ben. I'm very excited about this facility opening up.
Yeah, I just want to echo what some other board members have said, and I think it seems like you also agree with that. This map is, I mean, it's hilarious to think that pedestrians are gonna cross 9 lanes of traffic twice. They're not gonna do it. I was there this morning. No one is doing it. There were 20 joggers going around cyclists. It's not happening. So I think the state DOT, this is a joke, and it's frankly an insult to pedestrians and to cyclists that we would think this. This is the worst place to cross the entire Greenway. I crossed at 55th Street today. It's horrible. You have like 30 seconds, and I'm a 45-year-old, very healthy man. I can barely make it across on time. So, and it's also, you have to wait like 4 minutes for the light to change. No one is doing this. Now, the solution is pretty obvious. There are 9 lanes for cars.
Right.
We could take one and do a temporary, take the westernmost lane and let that be cyclists and detour the cyclists or detour the pedestrians. When there's a 1-lane road, say a cross-town street, and there's a construction project, as there is currently on 54th Street, then they take over the sidewalk with the construction, and then they make a temporary sidewalk for the pedestrians that's in the roadway, and there's 1 lane of us parking or whatever. So I know this is a highway and it's state DOT, and it's gonna be tough to do, but let's not kid ourselves that anybody is crossing the street.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I can't dispute anything you just said. I'm having walked this path, every day. I have the same experience crossing 12th Avenue. It's the walking timers are short, and it's heavily trafficked. So, I think it's something we'll take back and continue that discussion with state DOT. Maybe we could use CB4's leverage with some of these agencies to try to help push the issue further.
What's currently in the space between the bottom of the bike path and the beginning of the highway?
I think it's trees.
Trees, that's too bad.
Oh,
Okay,
that's one.
because I was like, there are so many different materials that you can lay down.
But you should take the lane, the next lane is something.
Always.
The first lane.
The first lane, yeah, but I was saying that would be
Right.
even easier, but if we're not gonna touch trees, Pier and.
Very quick question. I ride on my bike practically 5 days a week. I go all the way from here up to 137 and back. Those 2 pinch points that we just discussed just now, that's the worst intersection that you could even imagine, especially when you're coming back down. While you're going up, it's okay. But when you're coming back down,
Right.
you could very easily hit a pedestrian or you could skid. I think this very close proximity between those 2 pinch points is the problem. Number one. Number two, you're reducing the width of the bike lane further up beyond the sort of second pinch point going north. What is the width of that path at that point in time? Yes, that one.
This is 17 feet right here.
17? Okay, so that's not
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah,
That's
this
not
isn't too bad. I think the really difficult point is, like you said, right here.
But
just
beyond that,
south of
actually, between the
52nd.
2 pinch points, when you come down, say from north side, and you're
Right.
going down south, and you come to the second pinch point, that's where you have a situation.
Yeah.
Because the pedestrians also walk along the bike path at that point. I don't know if you recognize what I mean. On northbound side, they walk along that little patch. They always do.
Yeah. I don't know if you could see this photo that I just put up on the screen, but
So the only request I'm making is that, if we are at it, I think we should really resolve that problem and not leave it to people's imagination. I think we have a good time, good chance to fix it. And I think even if it means that sort of taking away part of the green space or whatever you have, as long as there are no trees, there should be a solution to it. I think this would be a perfect opportunity for us to do that.
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I think that, this is definitely not a surprise. We were expecting to get, field some of these comments. We share the same sentiments as it relates to this intersection right here. So we'll take this back. We'll continue the discussion with DOT, and I think we'll continue to coordinate with the CB4 group.
I don't know, 54 here.
This is 54, but
54.
I mean, and certainly this is something that we ourselves, we can take a vote, we can vote to, draft a letter that it goes to state DOT with our concerns as well, so that you have our support. Did anyone who did not get to ask a question from the committee? Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Can you go back to the photo with the bollard?
Yeah,
know.
sure. Let's see. Sorry, I closed it. Can you see that now?
Yeah, so the bollards are there to keep cars off there for, is it possible to put the bollards somewhere else? And give that space over to the bikes or something to widen it? Can something like that be done to keep any cars or anything like that getting onto the bikeway?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
there should be, yeah, there should be, what about putting a bollard in the middle, like on the yellow line, at the beginning of the entrance, you know?
well, that's something we could look at. Being able to get rid of these bollards, or I don't know that we're not going to be able to just get rid of them entirely. They're there for a purpose, like you said, to keep vehicular traffic out of here. But maybe there's a way to shift them somewhere. Yeah, maybe we could shift them to a location where there's more width. Something we'll have to look into a little further.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just have, too many questions for, I just have a couple questions that are, related to construction, but weren't addressed in your presentation. Just want to make sure that construction is, moving as efficiently as possible. So, you're right next to the cruise ship terminal there, which I know, involves a lot of loading and unloading. And, does cruise ship operations, is that getting in the way at all of your loading and unloading of materials? Are you guys coordinated with the cruise ship terminal and operators? And if you're not, how can we help you to be coordinated with them?
No, I mean, that was a challenge, for this project that we identified early. I will say that our contractor has been doing an excellent job of coordinating with Manhattan Cruise Terminal. They communicate on a weekly basis, if not daily basis, when the cruise ships are in. It's really a matter of coordinating our construction activity, major deliveries, to try to offset or stagger our major deliveries with the when Manhattan Cruise Terminal is bringing in their deliveries to load ships. But yeah, it's really a shared egress here of the marginal street that you see, where I'm kind of running my cursor here. But so far it's been going, I would say, very well. We have been able to move some of our major steel deliveries early in the morning, 4 a.m. to avoid both, public traffic as well as Manhattan Cruise Terminal activity. So that I would say that's actually been going better than what we originally anticipated. We thought that was going to be a stumbling block, but so far it's been going well.
Yeah, that's fairly good to hear. And obviously, if that changes, please do let us know. I'm going to open it up to the public. I see one member of the public, David, has his hand up. David, did you want to ask a question? Strange timing. He had his hand up the whole time, and he's connecting. He's connecting. He's moving over.
There's no one with their hands up.
There's no one?
What?
I don't know what just happened. That was me.
Can I speak?
Oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah,
But it's
David,
not-
go ahead.
But it's not about this particular issue, so I don't know if you want me to speak now or.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know you have a topic already on the agenda, so we'll wait for that, David.
Okay, I can wait, so I wasn't sure. That's fine. Then I'll just wait. I'll mute.
Okay, great.
Thanks. Yep.
All right, anyone else from the public have questions on this? Anyone else from the committee have questions on this?
Well, I have a question about what staff do you have on the ground? And where?
What staff do we have? So our contractor has about 20-25 people on site daily. They have construction trailers. It's really off of the screen here, but underneath the Manhattan Cruise Terminal ramp, and then a little further south of the ramp, they have their temporary.
Could you show us the map?
Sure. Yep. So it shows on this plan here.
On the map, and with the, all right, so,
Yep.
no, I'm talking about people directing traffic, not,
Oh, well,
Who
they
is,
keep at least, 2 to 4 people, full-time at this intersection to help guide, incoming construction deliveries.
Right.
When they're bringing in large deliveries, they roll out two bands to prevent traffic from going across. So that's been working pretty well. And they help really just coordinate this whole intersection. So they're there anytime that work is occurring.
what about the other intersection at 54? The intersection, yeah, this one, do you have people helping pedestrian cross or stop the bikes, or what do you have there?
No, I mean, there's really we don't have any actual ongoing construction directly at this intersection. So no, we don't. I mean, we're providing, traffic coordinators at the points of ingress for our construction activities. So, we're doing everything we can to
No,
try to.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean, isn't this interim design because of the construction, and shouldn't you have somebody there making sure that, in fact, directing the pedestrian to the detour so that there is less conflict?
No, I mean, we're complying with the city regulations in terms of our construction coordinators. I don't know that providing someone here to try to direct people across 12th Avenue, I don't know that we would be able to do that.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We have a vote to take, I assume, on a letter we're gonna be writing. The letter, from what I'm gathering, will be to Vornado and to state DOT and city DOT. Asking for a better workaround mitigation than what's currently in operation right now, in terms of sending pedestrians across 9 lanes of traffic is unacceptable.
18.
Right, back there and back. Removing, maybe moving bollards, perhaps requesting from Vornado having permanent staff manning the intersections on the bike lane and the pedestrian traffic way. Is there anything else that we'd like to?
Yeah, I want to add what Charlie had said, to include that into the letter, to actually take a piece of the West Side Highway.
Well, yeah, sorry, that's part of it, sorry.
And the other thing is that if we could see Brad Hoyland and Tony Simone, because they're state people, and Liam, maybe you might know, do you know anyone in the state that should, do you have an idea of somebody?
Stick to Brad.
Stick to Brad, all right, yeah.
I think it's worth noting that our borough president, Mark Levine, has asked for a pilot program where we take a lane of the West Side Highway to give over to, what a great place to test this out. Test it out in these 5 blocks. The worst blocks in the entire Greenway, unrelated to this project. It's already the worst, most cramped pedestrian space in the whole Greenway.
Right.
So let's test it out here.
So we can see Mark Levine.
Yes, we'll do that. So excellent. So we'll make one of the main thrusts of the letter will be about experimenting with the West Side Highway lane. I like that.
Well, I think we need to
That
mention
that
that
doesn't reflect the rest of the highway.
there is a safety issue right there between the conflict between pedestrian and bikes.
Yeah.
Because of this
Yeah.
configuration.
Of course, right. Okay, well, that would be the letter. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of the letter as described? Anyone opposed? Everyone is all. Great, that is it. Thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. It's really helpful to know what's happening in our district and for us to be able to work together as partners to improve what's happening. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're gonna move on right to the next item on our agenda. This is regarding a request for removing a bike route outside of the Watson Hotel from one of the new block associations, although this may have already occurred, so we're about to find out where this stands and if we actually need to discuss this or vote on it. So I will ask, is there anyone here who is in attendance who is here to present on this topic, item number 2 on our agenda, request for removal of a bike corral outside the Watson Hotel.
Shani, is
Yeah,
anybody there?
there was supposed to be people attending in person.
Looked around the room, seeing none?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Mike and George.
Okay, no Mike and George, obviously let us know, keep an eye out if you see them appear on the,
This is the condition as of today. The road is being milled. There are no bike racks. Some people have residents have their mopeds parked on the street, but that's just like a car parked on the street.
Great.
But the corrals are.
okay,
Also, Gail Moore called me and said that she thought exactly that it was milled and it was gone. And she mentioned that there is a space in the back of the hotel, which was designed to put all these bikes. Because my question was, where are they?
I'll show you where they are.
Yeah.
But they're right. There's a little space between the building and the sidewalk, and there's a lot of bikes right there.
But they are not on the sidewalk.
No, they're not. It's,
All right.
it's hotel's private space as far as I can tell.
all right, well, we'll wait for then this to be an issue that actually gets presented to us. But if it's not right now, we're gonna move on.
Well, tabling.
We're tabling it. Janine, just keep an eye out though, if anyone new appears who relates to this topic. Item 3, Flixbus. We have a couple of representatives from Flixbus with us. They are here to address a problem that some in the community have noticed, including yours truly, that Flixbus has been dropping off its passengers right in the middle of 8th Avenue, just stopping its bus, parking in the middle of 8th, and right across from Penn Station, and taking about 10-15 minutes to unload everyone. And I was one of those passengers, so I'd like to hear from Flixbus about their knowledge of these operations and what they're doing to correct the problem, because my understanding, and they'll confirm this, is that the Flixbus permit does not allow them to operate in this manner. So Flixbus, hand over to you guys. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Nelson.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, everybody. And thank you so much for inviting, folks from Flixbus to meet with you today. We really appreciate the invite, and we really appreciate you raising this issue with us. So my name is Andrew Schloss. I'm the Government Relations Manager at Flixbus. And I have here with me Nelson DiBastiano. He is the team lead for regional operations, and we're both based here in New York. We both live in the community, and so I firstly, I just wanted to thank you for raising this issue to us. This is, we know very clearly where our operations are permitted to go and where they're not permitted to go. And I think I'm really sorry that you had this experience. And I'm sorry if anyone else has seen this experience before, where there are buses operating as Flixbus using locations that we do not have a permit to use or are not a property that we're renting. So we, were made aware of this issue, and our team has since gone into action. We've issued memos to our bus operators to confirm with them that, this is not permitted, that they're only supposed to be using our rented lot at 31st Street and 8th Avenue. And Nelson and his team are in constant conversation with our partners and our operators to make sure that they're compliant. We take compliance really, really seriously. So we, Nelson speaks with our operators weekly to make sure that their quality is consistent with our company standard and that they're compliant with all local laws. So we notified all the bus partners not to stop anywhere except for the designated areas where they're supposed to and allowed to stop. We also notified the lot staff at our lot at 31st Street and 8th Avenue to keep an eye out and to notify drivers of this, of this really important rule. And additionally, if we find out that this behavior is happening, we're going to deal with the situation right away. We haven't, and Nelson, have you heard of anything happening since? I don't think so, right?
I have not.
Okay, but Nelson and I have spoken,
Yes,
and
Yeah, okay, keep going. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's okay. So, Nelson and I spoke, and, I think there's a plan in place in case something, God forbid, like this happens, for there to be disciplinary action with the operator and the driver. We take this really, really seriously. And, firstly, again, just wanted to thank you for raising it, and to reiterate that, we really take this really seriously. We're constantly working to make our service better and compliant and the best it can possibly be. So yeah, that's all I have to say in response to this, but thank you so much.
No, I appreciate that. That's why we exist here, to sort of hold our partners accountable in a public forum like we're in right now. And so appreciate it, but I will open up to questions because you are here, and I'm sure even though you're here to speak on this limited topic, perhaps some of the committee have other questions about other parts of your operation. So going around, go ahead, David.
I passed your lot where you parked on 30th Street. You should know that the place is horrible. As a pedestrian, as a cyclist, I avoid the area because several things. One is, I know part of this is not your responsibility. The sidewalks are filthy and dirty. I went one day with the Little Region to clean that up. I don't know why your staff, just as a community service to your patrons and to the community, can't clean that up on a daily basis. The second thing is, or twice daily. The second thing is the sidewalks constantly blocked by your pedestrians unloading, loading on the sidewalk, milling around. There's no direction. It's anarchy. The third thing is, I'm amazed that a pedestrian has not been hit by one of your drivers, because when they turn, they're reckless. As a sight, I see them jumping and going quickly. They're a huge vehicle. They need to have patience and not, they need to wait, and they don't. And that's, they acting recklessly, in my opinion. And I'm just amazed a cyclist or pedestrian has not been killed because of the actions of your drivers. If you're part of the community, you should know this already, because this is, it's an eyesore and a danger. Just so you should know that. I know it's a tough neighborhood you're in, but 2 or 3 times a day, even maybe even having someone who power walks the sidewalk where you are would make a great difference in community relations.
Thanks so much for raising that. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, just apologize. The lot itself, is that maintained by Flixbus, or are those contractors of yours? And what can you do to address some of the concerns that David just raised about the lot?
Absolutely. And, it's really, this is something that we've been working on recently. And as of the past couple of months, we have a new manager on site who's responsible for this site. So she's almost all onboarded and figuring out how we can improve the space and how we can manage it most effectively and be a good community partner. And the sidewalk, rubbish is something that we're very aware of at this point. So it's something that our team is working with our cash contractor to take care of. And I know that our new lot manager is taking that really seriously and trying to tackle that problem. So that's really high on her priority list. As for the safety concerns with the sidewalk, this is also something that the team is aware of, and our new manager and our staff are working to make sure that we are that the buses are pulling in and pulling out very safely. So we have staff there now, and we're increasing the staff hours there to make sure that and the staff are there primarily for safety, and guiding the buses and the passengers and folks on the sidewalk to make sure that everyone is using the space safely.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, we've also, as Andrew said, we have increased our staff in the last few months there as well for safety reasons. We also added security guards, so we're more aware of the street, the buses inbounding and departing or leaving the station. So we've added extra staff there just for that reason, because we realized that in the last few months there.
I haven't noticed an improvement. I have not noticed an improvement in the last couple of months, so you better be talking to your staff.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. It's it's sort of a learning curve, and the new manager is just getting her bearing, and she's doing a great job. And it's taking
the learning curve is learning how to use a broom, and I don't think it takes a long time to use a broom. doesn't take a long time. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of words, but what David says is 100% right. What is happening on that sidewalk and in your lot is a disgrace. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it takes more than, excuse me, no words. I'm speaking. It takes no more than hiring a team of cleaning people and asking them to do the job, which, costs money. It would be done in one day. Okay,
So
so this is I don't think I need to finish my thoughts, right? I walk there twice a week and it's really disgusting. There are carts from homeless or some other people. Why don't you take the carts, take them away? Why don't you clean the sidewalk? Everybody in New York City is supposed to clean the sidewalk in front of their business. How come you're not doing that? You have not done that in, I don't know, 2 years. This is embarrassing.
Rats.
And then it's really, really disgusting. And then why don't you put a green screen in front of your lot so we don't see, as a pedestrian, I have all the exhaust of the bus coming in my face and the back of all the buses. It's really not pleasant. So it seems to me that you two guys could go over there and clean it tonight. It doesn't take a long time to learn how to clean a sidewalk.
Yeah, so the area in question is in contract with our trash provider to clean up daily. They haven't been doing a really good job at it, and it's something that we brought up with them, but we're considering changing our trash provider so that they attend to that
Well,
situation.
considering, do it tonight. All these words are slow motion. Just do it.
I'll inform our team. Nelson, can we look into that, please?
Anyone else from the committee in the room? Or Pier and then Brett?
Very quickly, I think Christine made both points. Actually, but one of the major points that I have is that fence is quite sort of ugly by itself, and you could do something better with that. You could do a living wall, which basically lives on its own. It might have an initial cost, but then it has a life of its own. I think you could do that. And the last point that Christine already made, but I'm going to make it again. Keeping the sidewalk clean is the responsibility of whoever is using that lot. If it's a house, it's the responsibility of the house owner. If it's a lot that's being used by you guys, then it is your responsibility. The city doesn't clean it for us. So I think that's an important thing. But last, I just want to really emphasize that fence doesn't have to be a fence. It doesn't have to be that tall. You want to stop people from going through, and that I understand. But let's do it nicely.
That's a great idea. A living wall, is that like plants on the wall?
Living wall is a whole system which sort of comes with the planters, and it has its own sort of little plumbing.
Yeah,
in it. It's pretty clean.
That's
a great idea.
You could start with a screen, a green screen, which costs probably $50. I can go buy it for you if you want.
No, that's a great idea, Nelson. I think we're going to look into that.
You can also film Marvel movies in front of it. Great. Okay, anyway. Brandon.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And of course, we weren't going to talk about Flixbus, and I wasn't going to speak up about my least favorite corner. I am actually pulling some photos. I'm hoping I actually can present a little bit on this intersection, the next couple of months when I can actually get my act together. There are instances on this intersection, and Flixbuses, I think, is part of the congestion. We were not in favor of getting your loading and unloading where you have it, right on 31st Street. And the evidence of why we were opposed, I think, is there almost pretty much on a daily basis. I walk by there all the time. I have seen instances of cars getting backed up. It's not all you. These are cars that are loading and unloading right at the intersection where they're not supposed to. I've seen instances. I saw an instance where there was a car that was trying to unload where they weren't supposed to, right by your bus stop. Your bus was stopped and honking at that car, and there was an ambulance stuck behind your bus. I have some photos of that. So that actually happened. I think we need to work on some kind of all coalition or some committee, something between the Moynihan Station, We've got to get traffic police here, and we've got to get you guys and work out a solution how to get that intersection uncongested. I think it would be in your benefit to help work on a solution for that intersection, getting people not loading and unloading at that corner. That's all of our problems, including yours, because I see they interfere, and that might be why you're actually getting your drivers unloading on 8th Avenue, because the location that you've been allotted by the city is not available most of the time with all the cars loading and unloading. So I'm really hoping we can get some some traffic enforcement. I think Moynihan Station needs to somehow get involved, step up, because that's really servicing the train station, and there is an entrance mid-block that really should be the loading and unloading area. So if they need to come to us to propose signage to designate a loading and unloading zone down there, so we can finally get some barriers put on that intersection. So that's all part of the growing issues. I'm not going to start talking about the food vendors. That's not your issue, but there is a food vendor that's definitely within 10 feet of the intersection right in front of you guys. You could probably help with the pedestrian flow there if you were to help people like me with the 311 calls to get that at least your side of the block opened up to the food vendor. That is not I don't think they're even allowed in that block, let alone within 10 feet of the intersection. So 311 will help, especially if you are the people located at the business at that location. I'm unloading a lot of things here, so.
I'm gonna just sort of sum up for everyone. I'm sure you just, Andrew Nelson has heard everything Brett said and everything the committee said. You've taken it in, you've taken notes, you'll take it back. I do think, we have this down as discussion. I do think I'm gonna change it to discussion and vote. I do think we're gonna write a letter, to you guys at Flixbus. I should apologize, by the way, I hope you guys could sense just by the fact that the issue was on 8th Avenue, that you would have foreseen us bringing up the lot issue, although I do apologize for maybe not giving you full notice on that, but still, it clearly is a significant issue, and one that, we need to take seriously, especially as Moynihan itself is really trying to, improve that area, and the partnerships that are in that area are literally trying to, clean the steps off and beautify that area. And it would really be terrible if you are, continue to be the eyesore that you are. And so we want you actively engaged on this. And the last thing I will say too is, to summarize everything, we discussed here, right? A lot is discussing, clean it up, hire people to clean the lot, green screen, all these ideas we'll be sending you in a letter. But it mentioned that it's anarchy there. I think David used that word, and there really is no reason it has to be that either, right? I mean, it is an ample amount of space for you to create a system where people load, unload in an orderly way, and buses come in and go out in an orderly way. And there's really no reason that it has to be the way that it is. And so,
Jesse, one more thing. I just got a text from one of our constituents, and she asked, can you ask them what is in the white storage container that is on their lot, and to repair the fence, it's falling apart, it's tied together.
So the fence we've definitely talked about, but I guess there's a white storage container on the lot. Do you know what that is, and do you need it?
Boom for shuttles.
Nelson, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, so the storage container there just holds on to all our safety items like cones and departure signs and all the items for our lot staff there, where they could keep their jackets and their safety items for there. We are definitely going to look into building the green screen or the green wall in front of it, so we can at least keep it away from the pedestrians walking by, so you can't see the lot from inside walking down the sidewalk.
So maybe they can put their brooms and pans in that thing to the store.
The vacuum cleaner.
All right, I think we've just unloaded on these guys enough. There is a hand, sorry, from the members of the public, sorry, obviously.
Who's that?
Let's see. Candace.
Janine, can you move Candice over?
Yes, I'm over.
That's what she said.
Oh,
That's the,
that's the text, and Candace,
that's the text.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. Okay, she's great.
Candace, it sounds like we've addressed your questions, or they've been mentioned.
Yeah, you guys did. I was gonna bring up the honking. Last time you guys were here, I expressed I live on 30th Street. And so your buses just like to lay on that horn waiting for that light before they turn to 8th Avenue. It's unnecessary. I had to shut my window to do this because they were doing it right now. But the homeless encampment that was there, that was living in your parking lot is back. You guys need to get on it. I was asking about the white shed because that's where they're hanging out. They had a sofa there the other day. They've broken apart the fence again. So if you guys really need to fix that, please.
Thanks so much. We're aware of it, and our team has been in contact with DHS to sort of solve it again. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Candace, for that last issue, the honking, which right is something else we missed. So yeah, you'll be getting a letter from us summarizing sort of everything we've discussed here this evening. You know, it is something that we will probably ask you back here in 6 months at the time or so to you know, see where we are on progress. But obviously, you know, it's our job to hold you guys accountable, and if we're not seeing the progress here that's being made, you know, ultimately our last line is to, you know, push hard for you guys to lose your permit there. So, which is obviously something we were never fully supportive to begin with, but if you really can make improvements there, you know, we won't, you know, get in the way of that. So we'll write you a letter, we'll summarize tonight's meeting and all of our suggestions and our issues. But we do appreciate you coming. You still come here, you know, voluntarily, and we appreciate it. And thank you for hearing our concerns. And with that, I hope I don't need to go through every single item we've addressed, but people generally understand we have issues with a lot, and I bring them all down. So if there's a motion or letter. Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? President Oswald, great. Thank you very much, Andrew and Nelson. We do appreciate it, as I said.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. And just to reaffirm, you know, we really appreciate you guys having us here, and we're committed to being good members of the community and good neighbors, just like Nelson and our neighbors in the community.
And I will take your word on that. I do have your cell phone number now, so there's anything more pressing than what we've already discussed here tonight, you can expect a call from me. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, and I apologize for interrupting before.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 4, traffic improvements for 29th 30th Street. David, this is you. The floor is yours.
Good evening. How are you? Thanks. Sheesh, I thought only I had issues in my neighborhood. By the way, just on a topic in itself, which would, you know, not just your community board, but something that I would address. In fact, you know, I spoke to Deputy Mayor Banks personally, and Horace was supposed to set me up to meet with him about a lot of things. But with this whole Justice Department investigation, I'm assuming that's why I haven't met with him. But you were talking earlier about, you know, pedestrians jogging, you know, by the bike lane stuff. During COVID, they were blasting PSAs about COVID. I've said this for a long time, and it's not just about bike lanes, but it's about people double parking, and they don't realize an ambulance trying to squeeze through 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, someone's life. Why don't you guys push the city for PSAs about letting, you know, you're not going to change everybody, but to get pedestrians not to use the bike lane.
David, that's a good concept. Can we try to focus on the things you want to get done today?
Sure. Okay, so with
regards to
so the first thing is 30th and 11th on the northeast corner. There's been 3 fatalities on that corner. I've talked personally to Ed Pinkard, Margaret Forgione, and everybody in the DOT to put bollards on that specific corner because there's a little blind spot there. The yellow lines that with the no standing anytime does nothing. There's a food cart there. People park there all the time. It's even worse when it's a bus or a truck. Christine brought something to my attention about corrals, bike corrals to place over there. I believe one of the reasons they probably don't want to put bollards with the BS excuse that the DOT has said is because eventually they're going to make a turning lane there, and they're adding a bike lane on 11th Avenue apparently. So they're very reactive. but I'll take Christine's advice, and that was one of the things that I wanted to request is if they could put bike corrals on the northeast corner on 11th Avenue and 30th, correct? I mean, they changed it. They put white, yellow lines now. That's a little bit old, but people park on this corner right over here all the time. Right here. I don't know if you can see my.
But
Yeah.
it's a little bit like doing a daylighting there, right?
Mhm.
It's really putting something hard.
That corner is just really bad because people run red lights there all the time, turn on red lights. You've had 2 cyclists killed there, a 3rd cyclist hit, a pedestrian killed. That food cart there causes part of the problems as well. He's actually, in fact, this food car is one of the only food cars in the city that I've seen that's actually 20 feet from a door, 10 feet from a crosswalk. I would say 99% of food carts are in violation on a regular given day. And unless they're doing some sort of media stunt like they did the other day with the pedicabs, Department of Sanitation, Department of Health, they don't do anything. I could tell you right now as I see.
So, David,
Yeah.
hold on 1 second. So everybody has seen this is like doing daylighting and putting something physical. And because we have the program for the bike corral, I think that there is a better chance of the DOT installing a bike corral in that location than anything else we can ask for. So that's my thought.
They refuse ballers over there. I don't understand. They tell me about sanitation.
Right. So what's the second thing you wanted to do?
The second thing is on 10th Avenue and 29th Street, which by the way, has now become worse with the new bike lane on 10th Avenue. They've added, well, no, further the next on the east side of the street, the avenue, I'm sorry. But yeah, so a little further down, you see, no, between 29th and 30th. So you got to go a little further. You see where the truck's already right there? They block the entire sidewalk. And sometimes it's like, it's been like this since I've been here 13 years. And part of the problem is, as you can see, pedestrians walk, they walk with backs to traffic. It's a very dangerous situation. And now you have the bike lane on, you have an entire 2 lanes taken away on 10th Avenue. There's 2 lanes taken away now. So, and then when you have these some of these trailers are, I guess, they're not directly from the postal office, they're subcontractors. So they're too large to fit fully in. And they completely block the sidewalk and part of the lane. I've requested a long time ago, maybe they can extend the sidewalk, but at the minimum, to put a sign on the on the northeast, to block off pedestrians for walking.
29th Street.
Right, on that corner there, because, with the bike lane, it's becoming a problem as another thing. I don't know why they're not putting bollards on 10th Avenue. That bike lane's pretty wide. You have the club Marquee, who I know the owners personally. I've spoken with them. You have the car wash, on 26th Street, whatever.
But I think this idea of putting a sign at 29th Street, the sign would say, the sidewalk terminates across the street.
There is no sidewalk on the west side of 10th Avenue?
On the other side?
No, there is a sidewalk, and then there are the trucks.
Right.
The trucks are blocking.
That's right. That's right.
And there's nothing we can do about that?
That's right, and they are there most of the time,
Where
so
the
it's
trucks? Where the trucks?
US Postal Service.
Postal Service.
This is the Postal
Yeah,
Service. So therefore, it doesn't cost much to put a sign, and if people don't want to ignore the sign, then that's fine, but at least they know that they're going to get stuck in the middle of the sidewalk, and they are not going to be able to continue. Unless because the trucks there are like half of the truck is in the street.
Well, they
It's not
can't.
just a little bit.
You can't face up the street.
Right.
The sidewalk.
Right.
Have a trailer park.
So I think this is something that David suggested, and I said, why don't you bring it to the community board? I think this would be a fairly good idea.
But there's no way to get rid of the trucks because it's the
No.
post office.
No.
I'm surprised you're letting anybody take the whole sidewalk, Christine.
Has been there forever.
And we just,
Grandfather.
we can't do it.
No.
Plus, I told Christine if we put up the sign, we could include a picture of her, like, with scolding. Like,
What we could do is, contact I'm not sure how effective, the chair or in Congress of the postal committee and the minority chair, and possibly our Congress. They're responsible for federal.
What are we going to tell them?
Get smaller
Stuff for
trucks.
trucks?
No one uses the mail anymore. Get smaller trucks.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
yeah.
no, these are the big trucks bringing the stuff to the small trucks.
So
I-
my question is, those big trucks are violating the city rules because of the amount that there are 18 wheels or the lat axles. Are those trucks, if they're violating the city rules, they do business with the post.
Do you remember that you and I worked with?
Well,
Carol
David,
Maroney?
let me interrupt here. I've spoken
What's
to
the problem?
some of the higher ups at the postal office, you know, including the head of the facility of the trucks, for years. I've even talked to their second in command in Washington. Part of the problem is the trucks that don't fit into that loading dock the trailers are subcontractors. So meaning like they don't always know, you know, when they have subcontractors. So the truck itself is post office, but the trailer itself is not. And, you know, when they hook them up, they're too large. You know, when I first moved in here, when I was walking over there a lot, you know, I could show you a video from years ago. I mean, you could see even a guy with a scooter right there. I mean, you got trucks sometimes trying to back in there, blocking the whole avenue, blocking up traffic into the Lincoln Tunnel. It's disaster. But the problem is with the new bike lane now on the west side of the avenue, you literally lose 2 lanes that you have right now, and the traffic is going to be even worse. And you know, my first suggestion was to extend the sidewalk. You know, this way the trucks that block, there's a little pathway there, but they don't even put cones up there. There's no flag person at any regular time. They could say from today to tomorrow, but at the end of the day, you talk about grandfather, but I can tell you, I've found codes in, just like when we had that issue with the Manhattan mini stores years ago. The grandfather thing is void when it becomes a pedestrian safety. It doesn't make a difference if they're federal or not. And I can look up the codes that I found. It does not make a difference. There's no such thing as grandfather when it's a residential neighborhood.
Yeah,
David,
David,
okay, so I think we got it. My point is, trying to get against the US Post Office is a big job.
It is.
So if we want to get something done.
Well, I'm suing them.
Talk
Because
about.
they run red lights all the time. Almost got hit by a truck, and at the end of the day, I think someone needs to slap a lawsuit against them.
So David, hold on one second. So we do that, and you know that we have asked for a bus lane on 10th Avenue, right? When that becomes to be discussed,
Right.
that's going to need to be addressed. And that's a better way, because now DOT is going to want to do something, and they are going to be on our side. Right now, I think we need to put a Band-Aid and go from there, because I don't think we have all the, you know, the leverage we need to do something. That's my point. So.
I hear you.
Hold on, David, we're going to take a vote, I think.
yeah, so the 2 items would be,
Well, there's one other quick thing though that I talked about was in regards to trying to move some red light cameras. You know, I've talked to Senator Hoylman about this. I thought the law with 150 red light cameras.
Where do you want to move it from? To?
We're from, I don't know, but where to? There should be a red light camera on 29th and 30th and 11th, because the amount of red light cameras, I mean, cars running red lights there that I can show you, pedestrian fatalities on that corner on 30th Street deserves, you know, it deserves a red light camera. I mean, you got.
That's a great. So we have 3 items. We have putting a physical barrier on, what was the corner again, 30th and
30th and 11th.
30th and 11th. For now, it's gonna be putting a sign, posting a sign, telling pedestrians to cross the street, because the sidewalk is effectively blocked, although we will continue to work with you on this issue, because we do want a bus lane in there eventually. And David, I do have to say, your lawsuit is probably the most effective way to actually make any sort of change with the post.
I'm happy to put you in touch, by the way, with some of the executives that I've talked to at the USPS. I'm happy to connect you as well. But one quick last thing, 30 seconds though. 30 seconds though, on the whole 10th Avenue bike lane, because it's wide enough, is there any talk to put bollards, especially by the car wash and the Marquee Club? By the way, they put a turning lane on that lane too. So now you have 1 lane when Marquee is open.
They are not finished. They are not finished, David. They're going to add stuff and separation.
Right now, when the Marquee is open, their whole sidewalk is blocked off because they've been blocked off for years, you know, and pedestrians, they had a crosswalk for pedestrians, but now it's the bike lane. You have, they have cars parked on the bike lane. You have pedestrians walking on the bike lane. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. There are people still walking there. I walk there with my service dog sometimes, and it's an accident waiting to happen. Now, I believe, because I did speak with the owner who I know, that they did some changes. I don't know specifically what changes were made, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that that bike lane, again, I love riding bikes, but I personally think this whole bike lane, the whole city is ridiculous because most people don't use it and it's a waste of taxpayers' money, but that's another whole story. But since it's there, they got to come up with a solution to make sure that, and I believe Marquis, the owners are very safety oriented. So I know if it hasn't been fixed, that they would do something, but there needs to be a conversation to make sure that the bike lane is clear from bikes and that the whole sidewalk has to be, I understand there's a security thing I even told them to talk to the DOT about putting bollards on the sidewalk.
All right. So David, let's wait, let's table the bike lane issue until we have an actual, bike lane that's finished and we can see how it's working. And you've given us a lot here tonight, you've given us a lot to chew on and so to work on. So I don't wanna overstretch us and have these issues get lost. So for now, let's just stick with the three, which are physical barrier. Let me summarize again. Physical barrier, 30th and 11th, sign on 29th and 10th, and red light cameras specifically on 30th Street and 10th or 11th, both probably.
Somebody make a motion.
And that would be the letter motion.
Second.
Second, sorry, wait, I'm sorry, before Mayor Schiffer, the elevator. Second, all those in favor?
Guys, say Miriam, her hand up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, Miriam, we'll do elevators, Miriam, if you could hold on, thank you. All right, so that passed. All those in favor, right? Yes, did anyone oppose that letter? I missed it.
No.
Okay, great, no. We are good with that. Thank you, David. Thank you for bringing those issues to our attention as always.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Of course. All right, we are moving into,
What?
Can I just ask a quick question, so by since we're on the topic.
yeah.
Is 10th Avenue, this section of 10th Avenue, is this being constructed the way all these other bike lanes have been constructed? It seems to me that there's so much construction going on. Why is the bike lane open and it hasn't been like, it's not even.
No, that's the way they do it.
That's the way they've always done it.
They make it unsafe for a
This
month or
is-
so.
this is-
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna make it safe.
It's true. It's just the way they do it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
very,
fine. Not,
No, they just, we get around to
So they just open it up and work around things and stuff gets laid out.
Yeah.
It just is.
the way they do it.
Okay.
Not good, but.
It's not ideal.
They do.
All right.
So-
We are moving on to now a couple, this might be a bit of a discussion, and then I'm hoping the remaining of our agenda is relatively quick, but it is time, after many months of postponing this discussion. It is finally time to discuss our update to the street co-naming guidelines. So first, I would very much like to thank the members of the working group we formed, if anyone remembers that we did that. So that working group included myself, Alan, Rodney, and Alice, who were all instrumental in their time and research that they did with me about other standards to look at. I sent around, first of all, I apologize, I sent Jadine the wrong document like a week ago, so that is why the actual updated guidelines were not in the Dropbox until about an hour before this meeting. But also, while the meeting started, I tried to send around everyone, thanks to Max, a red line of the original guidelines versus our new updates, so that might be the easiest way to actually read them and take a look at what we've done. I will walk us through them, but I do want to remind people sort of what our mandate was when we started this working group. The mandate was simply that we were getting far too many co-naming requests, which we did not think met the threshold of something that would be significant, someone or a group or a person or a place that was significant enough to merit getting a street co-named after them. And we did not like to have to take the time to review these applications. We did not like to have to deny people either. That is not fun. So our mandate was to increase the threshold for these applications, but at the same time, make it more specific about what people need to do. And so we, as a working group, we sort of looked at other standards from other community boards, tweaked them a little bit, made it our own. And so a few things that you will see in here are we are now requiring that if it is a named person, that the person be deceased before we consider renaming it. And there is actually a good reason for that. Not only does it honor someone's legacy, but actually, while someone is alive, who knows what direction their life may take. Yeah, exactly. The Bill Cosby problem, as it is known in lawful. We debated whether or not to remove organizations and entities entirely from the standards. We opted not to, but just because we did think that, wow, if there really is this great nonprofit that's been doing work for decades in our community, and we wanted to draw attention to them, and honor them in some way. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but we wanted to really make sure that we were more specific about what we were requiring. And so for that reason, prospective honorees should have a minimum of 10 years of community involvement for individuals and 50 years for an organization. The organizations that we've seen thus far, I think, do not meet that standard, so it is a pretty high standard. But also that it would be significant if there was a nonprofit that was here for 50 years. I think that weighs heavily in favor of maybe getting a street fund named after them. The biggest new threshold is the signature threshold. Some other community boards do it. We debated the number of signatures and the composition of the signatures, whether how much needed to come from the local community versus wider New York City in general, and like I said, the number, it swung in all directions, and we landed on 200. I don't really remember how we got there, but we did. And so I'm open to hearing. Hold on one sec. Obviously, if people think that that's too high, too low, if they don't want a signature requirement at all, open to hearing it. Although we do think that would be really something, to really because the issue is we are left here as a committee left to assess whether someone was really meaningful in the community. And yet, if the applicant did the work ahead of time and came in with what is actually proof of someone being significant in the area, which is getting a bunch of signatures, or at least spreading the word about like this person, I think that would go a long way in helping their application along, and for us to feel good about to feel firm about our decision to approve. And then the last thing on here, the item, paragraph 5, was I did want to include at least one sort of certainly not catch-all, but I wasn't sure if I didn't want to leave out the possibility that if something significant happened in our community, if a major world event or city event took place in our community and at a specific spot, I didn't want to not have a place for that in our guidelines. But again, the standards for that are still, I think the threshold for that is still pretty high. But again, open to hearing what people think. Maybe people think, no, this is really about individuals and organizations, and we want to honor people with this, and it's not about drawing attention to a specific spot. But my argument on that would just be, I am also for things that sort of generate people to come to our area and participate in and patron local businesses or whatever. So if it's something that we really do want to throw up there, I wanted to include that. And with that, I opened it up to the chaos that could be this discussion. I don't know. Okay, David, go ahead.
First of all, this is a great job. Let me compliment you. The only minor thing is the 10 years community involvement. I'm going to give you a personal project I happened to work on last month with someone who's in Ward 7. I'm going to slaughter the guy's name, but he's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk who went to Columbia University, and he lived on 109th Street. And lived there for only a year or two, but he referenced it in his speeches and in his writings so much, and they got like over 500 signatures. So it went out of committee. It hasn't gone to full board, but it unanimously passed. And he's only there for a year or two. But what was he referenced it, and he was a part of the community. and he had come back to visit a lot. He was a Vietnamese Buddhist monkey. Thatch, I can't say Thatch, I pronounce his name Thatch. But they got from their local block almost 500 signatures. But he would have met.
Would he have fallen in the historical significance
No.
at all? Who is this?
Yes.
Thelonious Monk?
Pardon?
Thelonious Monk? Who?
He passed away, he was Vietnamese. Yes, he actually, the US ambassador to Vietnam actually spoke at his funeral.
Are you talking about the Thelonious Monk?
No, that's.
What's the name of it?
No, it's an actual monk, it sounds.
The real monk.
Oh, okay.
His name is not Monk.
I can't say the name, Thatch, no.
TH in a monk, sorry.
Please, I'm mispronounced, I can't pronounce, but
Okay.
what I want to say is, so.
So we have a counterexample of someone who was significant and some
For 1
into
year.
for the community, but only lived there for 1 year, and so maybe that counsels against 10 years. It's possible. Let's hear other people and other.
I think the important thing about this whole thing is what has a person or organization done for a total community? Not for a subset of a community or a small group of, or individuals, but for a total community. So I think that's what the important thing is. And yes, it should be some kind of track record that you look at that person started something, created some sort of a well-being for the community, made some significant changes in the community that maybe couldn't have been done without that person. So there's a whole bunch of things. It's about a larger community. Not to say anything against this person.
No, he did.
But this sounds like something that.
Yeah, but
A small group,
Yes, no, I know that. It's just-
Want to do something, which, you know, they have the right to ask for.
What?
Are you talking, what you're talking about, the person, right?
No, I don't know who is that person. It's a
I'm looking
monk.
him up now.
And he lives in Tibet and he spent 1 year in Community Board 7. So, you know, to me,
Like I said, all I know is I know people who play there, so.
Okay, well, Tina. Okay.
I don't, did you want to call?
No,
The part that I feel most, by the way, it's great, but the part that bugs me just a little bit is the way we're saying a majority of the people must live in the district. Why wouldn't it be more than the majority? In other words, you're asking for 200 signatures. Now, frankly, I don't think that's a lot.
That's
I
not
really
a lot.
don't. So why wouldn't 200 signatures from District 4 be more of the criteria?
Okay. We did discuss this at length, no, I mean, it's a great point. I mean, I'm not disputing anything you just said. I think we ended up in a place where we actually thought 200 signatures actually might be a pretty high requirement, although maybe, you know, I could
Well,
be
maybe it's
convinced otherwise, but
That's
also we were concerned that if it was an area where maybe there aren't a lot of residents or businesses, like it could just
it's
actually
the
be.
whole district.
It, I probably made it.
We have 150, 170,000 people in the district.
You know what, that is true, it was a holdover for when there was early language that was like, a majority has to be within like a few blocks of.
Right.
It might have been a holdover from that, and so that is a good point, but I'm gonna let Alice speak to.
When we originally discussed it at the meeting was within a 10 block radius.
That's what it was, okay.
That one did get left out, so
Yeah.
I think the 200 requirement was within a 10 block radius.
Right.
So we can now figure out
Okay.
if we're still gonna do the 200 signature within 10 block radius or raise it up higher if it's all entire district.
I would say it's higher. With the-
No.
With
Another
the whole
committee-
district, yeah.
Another committee has 500 signatures.
Yes,
500 signatures for the entire. city.
right, I would say
So
that
we
makes
had
sense.
that 250 originally,
Yes.
10 blocks, we argued, or we discussed, and we
Yeah.
got 200 and 10 blocks.
But then the 10 blocks got left
But
off.
the 10 block got left out, and that's where the, I, Tina now it's questionable, 200 is too,
Okay.
it's easier.
So there are two different ways to go there. It could be raise the signature requirement and make it, you have to get 100% within the community board. Or it could be keep the signature requirement as sort of it is, but say, you know, it has to be within a 10 block radius of where the street name. It could be, I could go, those are the two options on the table based on that discussion. Who else? Oh, sorry,
My question is, should the, street naming be brought up, if that person, that's being named or considered to be named, is being named or considered somewhere else?
What?
And let's say, Thelonious Monk, I'm great.
Well, no, that was
I'm just.
Okay, stop me,
with the monk.
How are we gonna handle that 20 bucks name somewhere else?
He's
Or
lived for
should
2
we-
years in a bunch of places.
Yeah, so should we say, no, that's fine, you got a place somewhere else?
I don't know if that has to go with, I myself, I don't, okay, I'm just repeating what people say, like, my initial reaction to that is, I don't know if that's necessarily something that has to go in the guidelines, but I do think that would probably weigh against, in a discussion and a vote, I'm sure that would be something that would weigh against us voting in favor of it, but I don't know if that's. Because there's also the thing, of course, of like, are we gonna be able to capture every single possibility in the guidelines? No, and so, but again, if other people feel strongly, or if you feel strongly, it can end up in there. I'm gonna hold off on you for a second here, Sandra, go.
If I remember a long time ago when this conversation started, it was prompted by discussion of the crossing guard. Being, I forget his name, but maybe when y'all see street side, I'll remember it. Did not meet the traditional criteria for eligibility. But as a board, we still felt that he deserves a street sign naming. And I'm wondering, these guidelines, I guess I thought maybe one of the purposes was to update them to include a case like that.
I don't think so.
I did not recognize that as a part of our mandate, but again, this is the time to amend these guidelines, so if we feel that that's strong, and you do make a good point, right? Like, he would actually not, because he's, no, he would meet these guidelines, he would totally meet these guidelines, he would be
Significant contribution.
yeah, he would meet these guidelines, I have no problem with that, yeah.
It's the way you died.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
it's the way.
Was he there for 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah, no, he was here for a long time.
He died trying to stop a
No,
fight.
right, exactly, but he was a significant member of the community who would obviously, I think he fits well within these guidelines.
So the 10-year rule would not apply to him, that's what.
No, I think he was here for over 10 years, I think he was here.
Okay, but let's say he was here for 7 years, would it apply to him? So what would he do, what would he have done?
We would have done an exception.
Yeah, okay.
We always do exception.
That is the answer. Okay.
We always do exception when we send kids.
That's the answer.
Alright,
okay, I think the year thing is not actually.
It's not a big, I mean, we can build exceptions into the guidelines, but the lawyer in me will not allow that to stand. Oh, then we can just ignore these.
Exactly.
Let's build them in right now.
No, because.
I don't think the year thing was not the primary driver of that, it was essentially that when at least the guidelines as I read, the previous guidelines as I read them, and I think as some other people read them, did not sort of obviously fit crossing guard as a person of notable and significant contribution to the community. When we saw all of the presenters who spoke on behalf of this individual and their having these deep relationships with the students at the school and being there and being known as such a warm presence, and then also the reason, how he died, the case was pretty strong. I felt, and a lot of other people felt and the board to go for it. But I don't know, in my opinion, the guides, both the old and the new guidelines, as guidelines would not seem to meet that case.
What if we change the language, although this is now illustrated to, instead of a requirement of 10 years and 50 years, it'll say something like a presumption of that you will not meet, the requirement, it'll be presumed that your application will fail if you do not meet these, it's sort of like rather than
I think we need to keep in mind, it's not a law, right? It's a guideline in the community board. So it can be a little flexible and.
Right, it's something for the ages here.
And it doesn't have to match.
No, that's fine, but I would love to then add a line somehow that somehow.
But I think that was, to me, that crossing guard was a perfect match, even on the old guideline.
Yeah.
It contributed to the community, it contributed heavily to the community.
Nice.
And he did that for more than 10 years, and he did that in our neighborhood. So to me, between those three things, I felt, okay.
But I think your paragraph 5 sort of covers it in a way.
That's what I was kind of trying to.
I was going to get to that.
I think the most number of debate was the KISS band.
Yes.
That was really the driver for us, wanted to look at revamping this
Right.
guideline. And then also the organization that came to us, when we said you have a building.
The dance.
Yeah, everybody made us part of the
Right.
building.
Yeah, so.
I just wanted to bring up the KISS Army, and I think that's why I like having all 200 be from the district, because the fact that a bunch of people showed up from California because they saw a Reddit post.
Right.
KISS Pride, that was a waste of all of our.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I do think that that's probably a fix that everyone will be in support of. Nice.
So this is really about point A, I guess. Renaming a street should not be seen as an emotional response to an event, and it shouldn't be reactionary. It should be based in the established grounds of the community. There's a real legacy here. So I feel like there should be a waiting period after the person is deceased.
We had that too for a while. Why did we take it out? Do you remember? Does anyone remember?
You mean not the next?
So not by 3 years, 4 years. I mean, it shouldn't be seen as an emotional response, which it might be. And there should be time for reflection.
Typically, it's going to be an emotional.
And it shouldn't be, because this is a lasting impact to the street. This is not some temporary thing. This really cements someone's legacy in the community.
We did, when we had like a 6-month waiting period in there or whatever, but then we got uncomfortable with the measurement of that, right? What was it?
I don't know, I don't see why you need to wait 6 months, 3 months, 5 years.
Someone's lived their whole life.
Yeah,
doing
either
good
person did
deeds.
something.
And they're dead, right?
You know.
Well, it's almost like the guy from Chelsea Market who died.
Right, that's it.
Passed away, he was
Right.
80, 90 or something, and his family came in and put up a very good case and we supported it.
We were split on that.
Yeah, okay.
None of us want to get the other.
Right.
But it passed, right?
Alright, so I'm gonna let Brett, because he's had his hand up, and then I'm gonna go to 2 issues that we've discussed. I think Brett take some quick votes on, and then we're gonna get to, because I know you wanna talk about paragraph 5, which is a new issue.
You
I'm trying,
need to, oh.
no, because I'm just trying to get through, I'm trying to like clear off some of the issues now we've discussed, so Brett, I saw your hand up for a while, and then.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the issue I had on a number of occasions where we had an organization that would be coming about whether it was the Intrepid and or the a theater or something like that, that the sign would be serving a lot as advertising when they already had a business, a billboard. So that that would be my reason why I think it is good to have some kind of a restriction regarding an organization, especially if it's for profit. But I think the issues that we had were even nonprofits. So I think that's something that worth considering.
Sorry, I missed what is your suggestion to our update, or what is our update?
I think an organization, an entity that's, that's not a person, something that's an active organization, that might be looking to use a street sign as advertising, something to bring people in. The examples we had were the Intrepid. We also had a theater. So those are the things that I think we should be cognizant of and be able to, let people know we don't want this to be used as advertising. So if you have a business, you don't need a street sign in addition to it.
But that we are talking about nonprofit.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's, language that you think needs to be, firmer here, just, I guess I'm still a little confused on what specifically you want added or changed in here.
I just think a street sign for an organization, an active organization, is something that would be problematic from a advertising standpoint.
Okay, so I think your proposal then is to actually remove organizations entirely from the guidelines.
Yeah, we can say active organization if a business was going out of business, but otherwise, I'm worried about the street signs being used for commercial purposes.
Okay, so I have 3 discrete issues, because I think yours is gonna be a large, that's why I think there's gonna be a larger conversation, but I can knock off, I think, 3 quick issues. So signature, signature requirement, can I change, I'm gonna, the proposal that I would have would be to change, keep the 200 signatures where they're at. But say, all must be within from community board for, Christine is shaking her head, would you like to make a counter proposal and then?
I am 500 in the district,
I think 500 is quite high, I actually.
but it would be the whole district.
500 in district or 200 within a 10-block
Right.
radius.
Yeah.
Right, but I would, oh, you want to say.
Oh, do you wanna do both?
Oh, okay, I would think that 500 and it's the whole district, because we're all talking about District 4, right? Yeah. And 500 is not, I mean, you know, getting, at a street fair, you can get 300 signatures.
That's right.
Done that. Yeah.
Good, I'm taking the case.
Yeah.
At a street fair, people sign whatever they like, 'cause they like the
Exactly.
idea. But the purpose here is sometimes it's neighborhood specific, could be 3 blocks, could be 10 blocks, should be, you know.
But I mean,
I think
isn't
we
it the
have
whole district, the neighborhood?
I mean, it's an actually interesting way to split the baby here, which is to say, to actually have the either or, language to say either 200 signatures within a 10-block radius or 500 signatures
fine with
within the entire community board. I'm seeing nodding going around. Does anyone feel strongly against that
That's
proposal?
good.
makes sense.
Great, so that is now in. Good job.
Okay.
That's great. I love that. Okay, great.
Move on.
2 was.
What about transient? We have transient population in our community.
You
How does that work?
If they're here, they're here, they can put an address on. And
You have an address.
That's the way it's gonna be, and honestly, you know, I'm also going to do the signatures anyway, so. The second discrete one that I had was about a waiting period after someone is deceased. We heard arguments both for and against that, without putting a time limit on that at all, just to see a show of hands. All those who would be in favor of including a waiting period after someone is deceased, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8, okay, that seems to pass. How do people feel about a 1-year waiting period versus a 4 or 5-year waiting period? Those are the two options we're putting out there. 1 year seems fine.
Higher.
You think it should be higher? All those who think it should be more than 1 year, please raise their hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that does not pass.
You didn't ask if anyone was against the waiting period.
That was the first vote. I said that the very first vote was
Was 4.
4. Okay,
No.
but and then I counted 4. I counted the number of
Well, how
4s.
about counting had people who are against it?
Okay, how many people are against having a waiting period? No, it's not fair.
We have a.
Oh, he wanted to raise his.
1,
hand. He
2,
wanted to
3, 4. We did lose that one. Thank you.
Does not make sense.
Okay, fair. I will take 4 votes and I'll take against votes moving forward. Thank you. Okay, so that one failed though. So we have a waiting
You want
period.
that to be reported in your.
Yeah. This is going into my record. Yeah, I can.
We are recording.
Yeah, oh boy. So far we have a waiting period of 1 year is what seems
So
like
let's take a look.
carried here. Does that, all those in favor of a waiting period for 1 year, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are we voting for
Four,
1 year
four,
versus
four,
against an alternative proposal of 5 years?
Or against.
No, it's just.
It's or
1
against,
year.
it's either as it is now, which is there's no waiting period, or a waiting period of 1 year. Everyone raise their hand if you're in favor of a waiting period of 1 year. 1, 2. Okay, that one carries, all those against. a waiting period of 1 year.
We can vote for that. Doesn't that happen?
A waiting period of 2
So
days.
we got a waiting period, all right, we have 2 things now, we have signature requirements done, we have waiting period done, excellent. The third proposal I heard was a discrete proposal, which is to remove organizations entirely from the guidelines. I'll open it up just for 30 more seconds or a minute more if people want to just discuss it more, because Brett raised it. Do people want to talk about in favor or against,
So
including organizations? Go ahead.
would that mean like Sesame Street up in the 60s?
Yes.
Would not be.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then Hudson Gill.
Correct.
Could have had a
Correct.
sign on this street. either.
Correct.
To be broader, I'm concerned about like maybe honoring like industry leaders or something that might have been a business entity, but has been a time that there's been a time that's passed as well.
It's a person, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm the first thing that comes to mind is like the Titans New York industry or whatever, if you wanted to name the street after one of where they lived, but you know, there's still a bank that's them. Is
Yeah,
that not
I think it'll still fall on the individual and like if they meet the criteria of the individual, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think, look at.
Didn't the Supreme Court pass something that corporations are now, this individual?
Please.
United?
Citizens United, it's not gonna do that now, thank you very much.
When we
I
had
object, sir.
when we had the discussion with St. Louis, I think it was, we were all kind of like, but your building is there and the name of your organization is on the building, why do you also need to be on the sign?
Right.
So I mean, I'm inclined to take organizations that are active organizations who are like open for business
I
currently.
don't define that, but okay, let's just do let's do a for and against the basic proposal, taking organizations out, and then if it passes, we can talk about tweaking the language there. But, all those who would be in favor of removing organizations in some, or lessening, or removing, okay, fine, let's just keep it simple. All those who would be in favor of removing the organizations from guidelines entirely, please raise your hands. 1, 2.
Well, no, because he said,
No, entirely first, and then the next proposal will be.
no, but because it doesn't work. If it doesn't pass, we can never tweak, and you would have voted for it.
No,
Tweak.
sorry, the votes that I'm preparing in my head, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this.
Right.
The votes would be to remove organizations entirely, and then the next vote would be to tweak the standard around organizations to make them like an active organization.
all right.
Sorry, so
You're
those are the votes in my head, and then the you know.
All right, so organization.
So all those in favor of removing organizations entirely? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. Maybe a 5.
And 5.
Brian, did you vote for that? I don't see that.
No.
Right.
No. Was that 5? Did you vote for that? Remove organizations?
Yes. Speak up.
Sneaky with his hand, okay. All those against removing organizations, so I have to do that, I guess. Entirely, all those against removing organizations entirely.
Okay.
Protecting our Sesame Streets. There
Oh,
we go.
no.
Okay. So that does not carry. All those who would want to make it oh boy, active organizations, can you explain how you define active organizations?
I'm probably satisfied with the 50-year thing, so maybe Brad needs to be the one to define it.
Brad, what's an active organization?
So, they're open for business now, so they're not like we're, not going out of business. We're not a memory of a business, we're.
Active and operating.
Yeah.
Wait, they must be active or they must not be active?
Yeah, so, if there's a building that was housing an older, Chelsea Market had several older, there's refrigeration that was a historic business that had been operating out of that industrial building. Maybe somebody wants to honor the memory of a particular business, or it's a recent business that closed, and so that might be a different way of making sure that you can still name after something, and they're not going to be advertising their current business.
Okay, so something that captures that right, that the organization, and so the guideline would be that
it has to be a nonprofit. It has to be a nonprofit.
It has to be a nonprofit.
So an active business at Chelsea Market is not gonna.
No, but that's.
Right, so it would have to be still we're keeping the nonprofit, but the update is sort of a nonprofit that is no longer operating. Is the update that is
no longer
being requested. That is no longer, was never for profit, that is not even making any revenue.
And when they did
Bringing in no revenue.
They operated for 50 years when they did operate.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, so they are no longer a nonprofit that's bringing in no revenue, and they've been in there for 15 years. It would be kind of the language that's being proposed.
No longer exists to be a nonprofit.
It's that's sort of what's being proposed here. Do you have a clarification on that?
A council proposal on the corporations thing. I don't know the classification, but there is like a difference between nonprofits that primarily make money through donations, like a true charity versus hospitals.
Define revenue very broadly.
But I guess we could use that distinction ourselves. To me, a charitable organization is different from a hospital, which is, yes, it's a nonprofit legally, but functionally not really. If that's the case. Well, many hospitals are legally nonprofits, but.
No, city hospitals are nonprofit.
No, legally, the majority of hospitals, I don't know in New York, but in the United States, the vast majority of hospitals are legally nonprofits.
Not in New
They don't
York.
have shareholders, they don't make money with shareholders.
Not in New York. Every time they cut something, this is like you bleed for
But
money.
to be a nonprofit legally, like, you don't make money for shareholders. When you make money, it goes back to the employees of anyone.
I think that's a distinction that's gonna make it more complicated, but, thank you for
Just
the
to
proposal.
put my 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
There's different 501(c)(3)s and there are 2 basic hospitals that one type of 501(c)(3)s and then the regular small nonprofits that help
Okay.
people totally 501(c)(3)s.
There's different 501(c)(3)s, this is, it's a good lesson, but I do think the language that's being proposed here would sort of capture both. All types of, it's still nonprofit, it's still not a for-profit institution, but it is still, it is no longer operating in some way or another, and we would figure out the language, including bringing in revenue or donations or what it might be. Okay, that is the proposal, to add that language to the guidelines, to make it so that it basically has to be the equivalent of a deceased organization that's operated 50 years. All those in favor of that additional language, please raise your hands. Please raise your hand strongly.
No, you don't want to do it.
I mean, Sesame Street's still in business on 60th Street, but I'm kind of, they've been there for 50 years, I'm kind of convinced they can have a street.
1, I saw Brett's hand 2, I see Christine hand 3. Okay,
Doesn't pass.
does not pass, David's hand 4. Want me to do all again, all those opposed?
I don't feel like I'm staying right now.
We have lots of opposed, Okay, so that did not carry, so it will continue to be the language as it is written, which is a nonprofit organization that's existed for 50 years.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the 3 discrete items.
Super.
I think the last item is now Christine's. Christine, take it away.
Well, I was going to talk about everything.
Shucks, sorry. I thought I just knew that you wanted to do this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether we need that paragraph, because.
She's talking about paragraph 5, sorry.
Well, paragraph 5. You know, as I said, we have guidelines. We do exceptions. Maybe we should say that, you know, the board may, what I'm afraid of is that people are going to read this paragraph. And they're going to just come and see, that's it, I'm going to try it. So I'm concerned that it's reopening the box of everybody coming and trying it. I would rather have us say, you know, not say anything, and if there needed to be an exception, we explain it. We explain it in the justification and say, you know, this is not the guideline, but just like when we do business license committee. You know, we have a guideline, but when we don't fit in the guideline, we explain and we are doing it. And then everybody understands, or you can say like we do in business license, you say each application will be looked at, in spite of this guideline, it'll be looked at individually one by one.
Yeah.
So it kind of take away the concept of, it's like, you know, hardcore build, and that's what we do in BLP. We have a guideline and we look at them one by one, and depending the circumstances, we make a decision.
So I'm just gonna counter that real quick and then I'll open up. So I do think that would be, let's disagree with you, this is fun. I do think it would be an exception that sort of swallows the whole, and sort of defeats the purpose of the guidelines entirely, to just say, either to say treat it one by one, or, you know, really we can ignore them at one at a time.
No, I
comes
would
to
say
pass.
nothing.
Right, but what you're saying in practice is that we really, we look toward the guidelines, but everyone kind of knows at the end of the day that, yeah, they're there, but they're not, but they're not really followed. Can I, a proposal that I would, maybe make is, what if we attach to the guidelines an appendix of, street code names that we have passed and those that we have rejected, and make all applicants sign saying that they have reviewed the appendix before applying. It would include examples of.
That's a good idea.
It's a really good,
It's a good idea.
oh boy, I just came up with that was exciting, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, you know, the point is that we don't want everybody to have a paragraph which says, oh, okay, they have an exception, let's go.
No, I get it,
You
yeah,
know,
all right, I got it. Sounds really good.
Okay, when I read 5, it seemed to be like about like a historical event. Like, it honestly made me think of like 9/11, like it wouldn't be surprising, I don't know if there is, but honestly, would be surprised if there wasn't some sort of street in Lower Manhattan that was honoring the memory of 9/11, which of course makes sense and seems totally appropriate. Or it could be a place in New York City where like a Revolutionary War event. That is what I was thinking, for example, like. But if 5 says for historical events, not people or organizations, we could have a street, that does seem like a genuinely different thing. Like, if we have a paragraph that's just saying, these are guidelines, there might be exceptions to the guidelines. I mean, I'm sort of neutral on that, I don't have too much horse in that case, I also think just the fact they're called guidelines kind of implies that, but, if it's for events, I think that is a useful and meaningful addition to the guidelines, say like, we have something different.
Yes.
A third category of
Yes.
events. I'm not really worried about people abusing that because it's not really like an ego boost for any or advertising for any individual person or organization to be like a historical event happening here.
Is the Miracle on the Hudson a historical event?
That's what I was saying, like, there are.
No,
I agree with you that I meant it, and do not mean it as another
historical
category.
event, but it's just eligible.
Right, yes, I didn't mean it as another category, but I do see how people could shoehorn in individuals
Should
or.
tweak the language to be like explicit, like as good as possible, this is for an event, it's for a historical event, it's not for a person or organization.
You know, I think your suggestion was really good. You attach 2 or 3 examples of what we've approved, and you attach 2 or 3 examples that we have rejected, and let them read it. And now we have the guideline above, and we don't need the paragraph below, you know.
So that my suggestion still includes removing paragraph 5? Is that what, is how you interpret it? So okay. No, because I do think I was trying to capture something that was not otherwise captured by the guidelines, which is events. We have people, we have organizations, and I wanted to make sure.
So why don't you put a new category up there and call that event ABC?
Okay.
ABC and say historical events.
Okay.
On the top.
Okay. Yes. Tina had a grand raise.
I was trying to think of a better word to sort of get around it. First of all, Christine, I don't see any reference to the word guideline, I see policy. And then the question, maybe I just missed it.
Yeah,
And
we
then
should
the
call
other
that
thing
the
is,
guideline.
maybe we can call it street name practices. But maybe that's pushing it. But at the very least, policy seems to just be a little bit farther along than guideline.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have 2 things on the table. We have the historical events thing in the paragraph, and we do have a rename. It is a good point. It does say policy.
Right.
And we call it policy or guideline. So those are 2 separate issues. Let's stay more on the historical events for now, and then we'll move to that, and then we'll close this
So I
out.
want to make the
Well, does anyone else have anything to say on the historical events before we?
Right.
Okay, make a motion.
Right, the motion would be to name, to put item number, do a C instead of what we have to see and say these are historical events is one of the option for so it's either an individual or an organization or an historical event.
Do we
at the beginning?
Still need a paragraph 5 to then clarify, here's our criteria for like one of our criteria for a historical event is that it has been recognized by some sort of historical society. Like, I think because historical events need a separate set of criteria, so it might be the same criteria.
Yeah,
they also
but you want removing the language that says like, although not following precisely
Right.
guidelines, which implies that it is an
Right.
exception rather than I'm on top of that.
And then you plug the rest where it belongs.
Great.
Right?
And does your motion include the appendix?
I like the appendix,
Great.
but you know.
So the motion includes the appendix, so the motion is. The motion is to remove paragraph 5 or like place it up as a third category, historical events, remove language references to, although not following precisely within these guidelines. And just tweaking it in, so it's clearly a third category, and then adding an appendix that has an example of approved and rejected applications. That is the motion. All those in favor of that motion, raise your hands.
Like it.
All right, that is passed. All those opposed? Wait, all opposed. Present. Abstain. Okay, great. The last thing, let's do it quickly. Guidelines versus policy. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. Anyone want to say policy?
No.
All those in favor of making it guidelines? Great, guidelines it is. I will review the tape. I think those are all the votes. Thank you so much for all the input. Really,
Jesse.
thank you. That was wonderful. I really think like that. Thank you. Thank you.
Jesse, can I say something real quick?
No. David, you got 10 seconds.
10 seconds. All I can say is that before they figure out the corrals by 30th and 11th, something that Chief Chan, when he was the head of transportation, promised, can we try to ask to get some traffic agents to deal with the situation? I mean, with the Lincoln Tunnel, the Hudson Yards, the High Line, I mean.
David, I'm sorry, we moved on and it's too chaotic.
We'll talk about that.
But Janine, thank you, David. Janine, please kindly, put David back into the participants. Sorry, David, but we gotta move on to committee business. All right. We are now on item 6, MTA letter for elevators. This is, hopefully be quick and exciting, all at once. So, there is a draft letter in the Dropbox that I have drafted, in support of elevators on 8th Avenue and 6th Avenue on 23rd Street. If you remember, back 6 months ago, we've done this now a few times, but back 6 months ago, we asked the MTA, we said, hey, MTA, we want elevators in Chelsea during the next capital plan, which we were told would be released in October, in a couple weeks. And we said, what are your guidelines? How do you pick elevators? And they sent us back guidelines, and include, which I put in the letter, and I tried to address all of those different criteria, demographics, ridership, population, etc. So we have something to celebrate first, and then we can talk about the letter. So it turns out they decided to release that capital program plan a little early. They actually did it today, and guess what? We are getting an elevator. So cheers to everyone here. Cheers to Miriam Fisher, who is online, who is the disability advocate, who has been fighting this fight, brought it to our attention for a long time. The weird thing about this, though, is where the elevator we're getting. They're putting it on 7th Avenue, the 123 line, which is the one elevator we did not ask for. And as Christine said today, this is sort of like asking your significant other for a very detailed, like what you want for your birthday, and then like just kind of giving you a great birthday gift, but they don't quite have it right.
Was this a compromise on?
We don't know. So
I think they said 6 and 8.
We don't know. So part of the amendments that I want to make to this letter, again, this happened today, so I apologize, but amendments to the letter are first, obviously, thanking the MTA for including this in their proposal. Again, of course, the caveat being there's no money for any of this right now as it is, but that is not the point. The point is we want our elevators on the priority list, so it's really wonderful news. So thanking them for that. Asking for a little bit more clarification of how they made that decision. But then continuing to stress that we still want our elevators on 8th and 6th, because that is true. We still have Penn South, we still have Sellis Manor, and we still have could potentially be thousands of more units at NYCHA. And really, I know people have density concerns over west of 8th Avenue. And so if there were ever a place for putting an elevator, I still think it's 8th Avenue, 23rd. So it behooves us to push forward with this, because today's proposal had a list of 29 elevators, but they are reserving spots for 30 more. And so the notice and comment period is now basically kicked off. And so our timing on this letter is actually kind of quite right, because we get to say thank you, and you have 30 more slots, give us 1 more or 2 more. And then real quick, I do want to take off my community board hat for a second. You have not, some of you received the email and flyer, some of you have not. It will be going around the next 2 days, but Miriam and I have planned a rally for a week from Monday, so September 30th. A rally for elevators on 8th Avenue and 6th Avenue. Maybe we'll take the win and about 7th Avenue. But that rally is still going forward, and so that'll be a week from this Monday, and you will all be getting from Jesse the information on that and the flyer that will go around. It's been slowly making its way over the community, and it will certainly go to the full community board. But that is technically not. That isn't with these things are happening in tandem, but that one is technically not with my community board hat on. But did want to make that plug. Miriam, if I did not miss anything, you please, don't, as long as I didn't miss anything, Miriam is here to watch it. And so, we can thank Miriam for her work, and certainly you will be hearing from us both at the rally. Are there any other, other than the amendments that I made live here to the letter as drafted, does anyone else have any concerns or comments about the letter? Otherwise, it is going out the door, and now we have really, I mean, we have issued several letters about elevators. This will be one more. We've been holding testimony. I think we beat this issue to death, but it's great because we actually have a win out of this, and that is such wonderful news. So, seeing no hands for amendments, all those in favor of the letter as drafted plus a couple amendments. Anyone opposed? Present not eligible, abstaining. So Pier, that was in favor, I assume, or opposed? Pier, favor. Great, thank you very much. I got worried. Would you all like to applaud me again, or?
Oh, did you?
It's just unfortunate that that's, we dropped out right at that moment. I don't know what a, not a conspiracy theory man myself, but Christine, I know you're.
This is unproud. Who is that? This is you.
All right.
Oh, this is you.
Janine, we're back though, right? You can hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was having difficulties with my laptop.
No, no worries at all.
I was
Yes, I see Miriam, just give you 30 seconds if you have something, but we did vote to pass that, but obviously this has been your issue and I want to make sure you get a chance to speak. So, Janine, can we allow Miriam to hop on for a quick second?
What time is the rally on the 30th?
What's that?
What time is the rally?
9:30 a.m. It's it's the best time for rally. What?
Till like 11 or something like that?
Until like 10.
I wanted to say,
This is Miriam.
two things. The other comment was not about elevators. I was on the traffic and I had a picture which I sent you of how different the scene is on 14th Street where the new food hall is, and there are bollards, and there's even a security manager who had a stop sign up, and I was so happy to see him. I asked him if I could take a picture, and I don't know if that money is coming from the restaurants or the whole food hall, and they want to be sure people cross alive and can spend money for food, and it's different from other areas, but it was very striking, and that was my other comment. I also want to compliment how Jesse worked so hard from across the globe when he was on vacation, making long distance expensive calls and got a lot of support from our electeds, including Eric and Brad and Tony and Mark Levine, who will all co-sponsor this event. So Jesse worked very hard when he was on vacation.
Thank
and
you,
made
Miriam.
expensive phone calls.
Thank you.
Maybe he said, I can only talk for a second. This is very expensive. That was his first thing. Thank you.
That's how I start every conversation on the phone. I want a minute. It's very expensive. Thank you, Miriam. And again, we hope to see you all there.
Congratulations, Miriam.
Yeah, congratulations.
On your work.
Yeah, really.
You have been really the driver of this
Absolutely.
whole thing, and we wouldn't have picked that up without you. So this is really a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So thank you so much, Miriam. Awesome. So that is that item of business. We have 7 and 8, which I turn over to Christine, and then
Okay.
hopefully around.
So 7, statement of district needs. What we do every year is we take the list of the requests we have done last year that we send to the agencies. And then we incorporate the new requests, which were generated through letters that we have done this year. So you have in the folder all the things that we had last year. I want to highlight in the capital that we asked the repair, replace, damage subway grades, and we got that done. Another win. All of them got done except one just at the corner of my street. Right.
Watch your step.
So they have like a big enclosure right on 8th Avenue, so I sent an email to MTA and say, well, what are you going to do about this one? But everything else has been done. I mean, you know, if you look at them, you'll see the rivets, which are fixing things, and I think this is a big deal for pedestrian on all those sidewalks. So that's one thing we got done. And then there was another one. Reconstruct, okay, so, fulfill the city commitment to do ADA compliant ramps, which were a 20 years ago commitment, and we got that done too. Indeed, with the verbal alarm, how do you call that? The audible pedestrian, right? So we got that done also. And that's two big win, I think, you know, in the capital. And then now, Alan was kind enough to make a list of the letters that would generate new requests for the budget. And you're looking at me like you're not going to talk about it, right?
I have a list of
I'm trying to. Would you please talk about?
I'll send the list out in a moment.
Right, okay, all right. So we're going to take those letters and incorporate them into the priorities, and then I'll send around to you a list, and then we prioritize it. So the next meeting, we would prioritize those requirements and then say, this is the way we put them into the budget of the whole community board. I think in the expense budget, let me see if we did. On the expense budget, if we got anything that we got approved. NYPD, forget about it. Fix the dangerous intersection. We still don't have all the dangerous intersection fixed. Funding to install bike corral. So that's good because we should be getting it this year. We should be getting the list we sent to them this year. I'm on it. Hopefully we get it before the end. Neck down and West 24 from 11 to 10. Signal. We didn't get a lot of the other things. And I just wanted to mention that obviously we got the 10th Avenue bike lane, but we're also getting the bike lane from 34th Street to 30th Street, and we're getting a wider sidewalk and a bike lane, just like we have on 51st Street. So that they are painting right now.
And that's from 30 to 34?
Yeah. So that's happening right now. So this is another piece. And from what I know, I think, you know, next year we want to push for the rest of 9th Avenue. Yes.
And I wanted to add that they, at 28 and 10, they have the day lighting as well at the end of the park, so that you can see where they marked it off. So in addition to the bike lanes, you see the daylight.
And they are asking, installing a lot of physical concrete separation.
Nice.
Pedestrian. So I think the bike lanes, and this is separation where we can plant trees. Right? So we'll be able to have trees on 10th Avenue. So I think we did really good this year. Really good. So we'll have all that stuff, TPC go. So 2 more items, garage parking rules hearing. There is a parking rule hearing of the parking garage coming in the few weeks. And, you know, it's only about the prices, how the prices are displayed, and it's nothing about what we care about, which is the fact that it overflows on the sidewalk, that there is no separation, that so I want I put that into your Dropbox. I've done a proposed testimony, wanted to make sure that you guys were comfortable with it. And we are completely off subject, right? We're going to go there and talk about something which has nothing to do with air, but at least we are putting that on the table. And then the second thing, clean air hearing testimony, and we may want to hear from, is there, do we have Eric is ready to, and it's like a last minute because the hearing was this afternoon and we can send the testimony tomorrow or the day after. So just wanted to, hey Janine, can you move Eric?
Sure, 1 second.
Buena idea. Muy bien. ¿Cómo se ve? Tú. También, claro.
Eric, can you?
Hey. Hi everyone. I just got out of the hearing and meeting with some advocates. So what we've been working on with Christine. I'm Eric Eisenberg. I'm a Hell's Kitchen resident. I'm associated with the New York Clean Air Collective, which is a 501c6 organization. But basically, there was this hearing today pertaining to idling. And a number of our elected officials have taken a position that we at the Clean Air Collective agree with. In particular, Sean Abreu, who is a council member for like Manhattanville, and our local senator, Brad Hoylman-Siegel, have both written letters in support of 2 bills and in opposition to a 3rd bill, basically along environmental and social justice lines. So the 3 bills, which are the subject of this draft letter that Christine and I worked on, are Intro 5. Intro 5 would allow foreign language speakers to report air pollution in their communities. That includes, of course, idling, which is the big thing that English speakers have been able to report. Obviously, there's no reason to exclude people from clean air just because they speak a different language. So Intro 5, I think, is a great bill to support. And again, our elected officials that I mentioned have written letters supporting it. Intro 291 should be near and dear to Manhattan Community Board 4, because it is a bill to raise idling fines that is sets them to the exact levels that Manhattan Community Board 4 requested in 2019. So that is Intro 291. There is one little technical issue with it. We believe that when it refers to trucks, it should refer to the VTL definition of truck, which is easier to understand than the RCNY definition of truck, which excludes a lot of things. But in general, it's based on this community board's request. The 3rd bill, which is in our view, and again in the elected's view, a bad bill, is Intro 941. Intro 941 has a lot of bad provisions. It reduces the incentive of members of the public to report air pollution by cutting the award that they would normally receive in half. It also allows the DEP to create a speech code. So if you criticize the DEP, you can be permanently banned from submitting air pollution complaints. And that's just, that's not how the First Amendment works, as explained, for example, in Brad Hoylman's letter. We're allowed to criticize the government and they can't take away our air from our lungs just because we criticize the government. So the letter that Christine and I prepared, as well as my colleague Hayden Brockett from the Clean Air Collective, who lives on the Upper West Side, it basically echoes the letter that there should be support for 5 and 291, and there should be opposition to 941, the anti-free speech bill. The 941 has some other nonsense, like it retroactively cuts fines in half for any company that installs a so-called anti-idling technology. This anti-idling technology does not work. Members of the community have repeatedly seen that the second that 3 minutes pass and the trucks get turned off, they just immediately get turned back on by the operator. So they don't do anything. So there's no reason to retroactively forgive fines. We need them to comply and stop polluting our very, very polluted neighborhood. So I feel like I've been talking a lot, but Christine has the draft letter, and I'll cede it back.
So, yeah.
No, my only question was gonna be on the anti-idling technology part, because I would have thought that we wanted to encourage that, but if the experts in this field say it's really just a misnomer entirely, and it's, then yeah, that makes sense to me. And I also appreciate that Eric is not idling himself, because.
So,
yeah, I'm walking.
The idea would be to give that to Jesse Bodine and have that sent out, our testimony of CB4, subject to ratification at the full board, right? So that otherwise we don't have the time to react.
Yeah, the deadline would be early on Saturday, unfortunately, to submit anything.
So we would do that, and I wanted your support and the vote to do that, so we can say, yes, the committee has voted, and here we go.
Great. So we have two different votes to take, because we have to take one on your proposed testimony.
Yes.
And then on this letter. Does anyone, I guess on either, does anyone have any comments? Did everyone get a chance to read both? Does anyone have any comments, questions? Well, I have Eric or Christine. Anyone at all? No, okay. Well, in that case, let's take them one at a time. Let's do the proposed testimony about the garage parking rules first. Can I get a motion? Motion? Second, all those in favor of the proposed testimony? Anyone against, abstain, present, not eligible? Great. And now, a motion on this letter about the idling bills. A motion, please. Thank you, sorry. Motion, yes, second, great, all those in favor? Sorry, me too. Anyone opposed? That's not eligible, abstaining. Amazing, thank you so much.
Wow.
That is everything, I think. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for coming. I believe that is our entire agenda. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to throw out there before we wrap this up? Saying nothing, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? And we are adjourned for the evening. Thank you all very, very much.
Jesse, I'm sorry, I saw one hand up still.
Jason.
Jason, yes.
Jason, all right, everyone, no one leave their seats. I don't know what, Jason. What's this about?
Thank you for your hard work on the proposal for the street.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you for the whole working group. Jason, sorry, we're waiting for you to unmute. Yeah.
Great. Sorry about that. I don't think my camera is working, but thanks. I'll be quick. I was just wanted to bring to the committee's attention the situation on West 22nd between 7th and 8th Avenues with the traffic calming and daylighting cutouts that were installed last year by the DOT. They have become a haven for people who are shooting up or smoking crack or drinking or disposing of trash. I've been in contact with the DSNY and with Councilman Botcher's office. There is, really no way to clean those. It's just up to the, ACES crew occasionally or a nearby building if they're feeling their civic duty and want to go clean it. It's a real problem on the street, and it seems that the DOT should either come up with a plan to maintain those areas in some capacity, similar to what they do with street cleaning, or if they're not even, or else assess whether they're even performing the job they were intended to, and if not, they can remove them, and then the area will at least be cleaned by the street cleaner now and then.
Okay. thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think what we would do is vote to put that on the agenda for next month, but.
Let me ask a question first.
Of course.
This is, Jason, did you have a meeting with the block association?
No, I haven't had any meetings with anyone about this yet.
Right, why don't you have a meeting with your block association, and they are the ones, some of the people who installed them were part of that. And there are some people which are opposed to it, so I think it would be a really good thing to meet with them and have that discussion with them first.
Okay.
And then you can come back here and we can see what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that comes from a recent lesson we just learned. Thank you for reminding me about moving on the testimony of one person without making sure that we've included the entire everyone. So we want to make sure everyone has a chance. So it would be really helpful, Brian, if you can reach out to Block Association first, and then come back to us and we'll put it on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Will do.
Jason,
Thank you.
you can find the list of block associations on our website, or you could contact me directly for the ones nearby.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Janine. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.